andragogical model. The andragogical model is based on the several assumptions that are different from pedagogical model. So here are the 6 andragogical model. First, readiness. Second, experience. Third, self-directed. Fourth, orientation. Fifth, motivation. And the last is need to know. But I will explain each of it so that we can understand what is the meaning of it. First, the need to know. Adults need to know why they need to learn something before undertaking to learn it. To adults, it is crucial to know why it is necessary to learn something, but also it has an advantages that it seems highly motivating factor, especially for those when it is related to the quality or the improving of the quality of life and can lead into a better work performance. The second one is the learner's self-concept. Adults have a self-concept of being responsible for their own decisions, for their own lives. Be growing up. Learners should be acquired the self-awareness and move from being dependent. In adults training, it is crucial for them to perceive the independence, being able to make choices for their own in the relations of the learning process. So the third one, the rule of the learner's experience. Adults come into an educational activity with both a greater volume and a different quality of experience from that of youths. Yes, of course, compared to the youths, adults should have more an experience. This implies on one side that adults can reach the better results if lies on the knowledge and the consequences. And the fourth, readiness to learn. Adults become ready to learn those things they need to know and be able to do in order to cope effectively with their life situation. Yes, it is important to learn everything and to read everything so that can help to improve the knowledge that we have. And also, as we said, that adults should need to be interrelated to the contingent needs motivation that drives us, being aware to the information they have got, and that if that is useful to solve the daily problems, both personal and in work. And the fifth, orientation to learning. In contrast to children's and youth-centered orientation to learning, at least in school, adults are life-centered or task-centered or problem-centered in their orientation to learning. So, in adults learning, training should not be focused on the content itself but also on the practical uses. It is fundamental to present the competencies, knowledge, and activities that adults can willing to learn. And the last is the motivation. Adults are responsive to some external motivators like better jobs, promotions, higher salaries, and the like. But the most potent motivators are internal pressures, the desire for increased job satisfaction, self-esteem, quality of life, and the like. Motivation, according to the theory, people can lead to change and grow in their innate needs. And according to TAF 1979, that found on the research that people can be motivated to keep growing and developing. That's all. Thank you.
Putting the pedagogical and andragogical models in perspective. The treatment of the two models may suggest that they are antithetical, that the pedagogy is bad and andragogy is good, and pedagogy is for children and andragogy is for adults. This is pretty much the way that the models were presented in the first edition of the Modern Practice of Adult Education, Andragogy versus Pedagogy by Knowles in 1970. But this idea was changed after a decade, where the numbers of teachers in elementary, secondary schools, and colleges were reported that they were experimenting with applying the andragogy models. And they found out that the children and youth seemed to learn better in many circumstances when the features of andragogical model were applied. And also, a number of trainers and teachers of adults described situations in which they found out that andragogical model did not work. Then, the modern practice of adult education, andragogy versus pedagogy, revised to a modern practice of adult education in 1980. The subtitle was changed to from pedagogy to andragogy. Therefore, putting the two models in perspective requires making a distinction between ideology and a system of alternative assumption. Pedagogy. Learning is dependent on the teacher. Andragogy has its desirable goal to do everything possible to help the learners take increasing responsibility for their own learning. Both model are effective. As an educator, we just have to check out which model is effective in a particular situation and a learning goal. Example: if the pedagogical assumption is effective for a particular learning goal, then a pedagogical assumption is appropriate. This is occur when the learner are indeed dependent, such as entering to a totally strange content area. Pedagogical instructors have reported that their teaching became more effective when they adapted some of andragogical concept to a pedagogical concept or to a pedagogical model. Some ways they do this are providing climate in which the learner feel more respected, trusted, and threatened and care about. Exposing them to need to know before instructing. Giving them some responsibility in choosing method and resources, and involving them in sharing responsibility for evaluating their learning.